Hi there, everyone, and welcome to Paper Wishes Weekly Webisodes. I'm Sara Newman, and I'm so happy you're joining me for this episode of Saturday with Sara. Today, we've got a stunning collection from our friends at Stamperia called Fantasy World. There's pattern paper, chipboard die cuts, and 4 sets of rub-ons. So let's take a look, and we can start with our paper pack. I'll move aside this package just for now, and we'll take a look at what's inside in just a minute. Now, with the paper pack, you can see the swatches here on the cover, but it's always nice to flip through and see it like you would be able to see it in person. Now, this is an 8x8 pack with 10 double-sided patterned background papers. So we have these really rich and detailed all-over designs that can be used to cover a card front, to line the inside of your card, and also for die cutting and layering. The colors are stunning and the patterns are really classic. This is one of my favorites, and this is a great example of Stamperia style because you've got this beautiful collaging up here with some script and some swirls, but then you've also got this beautiful, really unique artwork, lots of florals, lots of texture and depth and dimension in here too. And I just love how easily you can combine these different designs. The colors are really nice and versatile. You've got some great basics in here. There's also this shade of teal that is kind of threaded throughout so that you can see hints of it in here too, as well as swirls top and bottom. Just a really beautiful collection of papers and a lot of fun to work with. Then to go along, we've got 4 sets of rub-ons. And Stamperia makes gorgeous rub-ons that are really easy to use. So the first set that we have here is called Trains, and you can see why. There's also some floral elements and again some collage work on here. Then there's one called Flowers, so you have some really beautiful delicate floral designs. This one is called Greeks, and you can see the Grecian architecture on here. This one is a lot of fun to use. And then finally, we've got one called Elements, which is full of really beautiful and versatile designs to work with in here. Now, these can all be used individually. They can be used together. They can be used on plain cardstock and also on pattern paper. Now back to our chipboard package here. It's hard to see the elements inside the package, so I've got everything spread out on 2 sheets of cardstock so that we can see here. Also some architectural elements. You've got some florals, butterflies. You've also got some maps in here too, and then some other elements like the statuary, as well as some swirls, and this beautiful butterfly. This is one of my favorites. And of course some sentiments that you can use for the front or the inside of your card. So there's 45 chipboard elements inside this package. And I have to say, I absolutely love this collection. It's so easy to use and it comes together really beautifully. And the designs are really versatile, so you can go quite feminine with flowers and swirls, or take on a more architectural style or something with historical flair. I'm really excited to explore the possibilities of this set with you today, and I'm really glad that you're here. So come play with us. Let's start with this easy card design, which is using one of my favorite pattern papers from today's collection. So here I've simply cut down a piece of this gorgeous floral paper and then built it up with rub-ons as well as chipboard. So let's have a look at the details here. These 2 swirl elements you see are rub-ons, and then offset I've added 2 chipboard swirls, and then some floral chipboard pieces. These 2 are popped up on foam tape for some dimension. And so what's nice about this is that it really takes advantage of the beautiful collage work and the depth and the colors and the patterns in our pattern background paper as a foundation, if you will, for creating the rest of the card design. Now, when it comes to rub-ons, you can apply them onto plain cardstock. You can also use them with patterned papers too. And bold images like the ones in the Greeks rub-on set are really nice for using with patterned papers. because they have thicker lines and darker coloring, they won't get lost in the pattern design, but they also won't detract from the other elements that you may be adding in here. Now, adding a rub-on is really easy to do, so I'll do a little demonstration for you. Let me bring in some other pattern paper, and I thought we could use something darker for our demo, just so that you could see how the swirls will look a little bit different. And also because you've got so much variety with lights and darks in today's collection, I thought it would be fun to play with that. So when I've trimmed out my rub-ons, you can see here's the portion of the sheet that I have left. I just grab a pair of scissors and then snip out the design that I want. And I'm making sure to hold both of these layers together. So there's the rub-on sheet and then there's this liner piece in here. So I'm going to keep these together as much as I can until I figure out, you know, which area, which portion of this design I want to work with. So I think I'm going to come down here and take advantage of this really pretty kind of teal swirl. And I'm going to take away this liner piece and then position my swirl. Let's do it like right about here and smooth this down. Now what I need to do is burnish it in place, and I've got a bone folder for this. You'll notice I've got a tip on my bone folder. I'm actually going to be using the edge of the tool to burnish this in place, and all I need to do is just add some gentle but firm motion in here. You don't have to put a whole lot of muscle into it. But I do want to make sure, especially with swirls, any intricate designs, anything like flowers, if they're really detailed swirls, you want to make sure to go around the outside edges so that all of that transfers. And then slowly and carefully, I'm going to peel this up. And I do it slowly because if there's any portion that does not transfer, I can put this back in place and go back and burnish it again. But it looks like I did okay there. So now I've got my swirl on here, and then I can continue to build off of this if I want to. So I had the chipboard swirl on my card, my original you see here, and then I also had some floral elements here too, and then the sentiment as well. So if I wanted to, what I could do is just grab this swirl, pop it down here, and then maybe add the large flower like so. And then maybe, let's see, not the medium, but maybe the small one could go right here. And, you know, I've got this gorgeous little butterfly. He could go up here at the top. And then my sentiment could either go down at the bottom or even off to the side. So you can see how these elements come together really easily. Any possible reworking of this configuration would also look great. You could add in the third flower if you wanted to. Really fun and easy to do, and just so simple when you're working with a pattern paper design to build up from the bottom. And again, just take a look. I'll bring this back in. Take a look at how different this design looks when it's on a light pattern paper versus a dark pattern paper. I just think it gives so much versatility. I really appreciate that. So back to the card design. Again, I've got my cluster of elements here. I've got a butterfly chipboard piece here, popped up on foam tape. My sentiment is popped up on foam tape as well. And then you'll also notice little hints of gold in here. Now these are from the Hunky Dory Diamond Sparkles Gemstones set. This is one that I use a lot. It comes in gold and silver, and they just add a nice extra touch in here. Now for my paper that I've added to the front of my card, I've trimmed this down slightly narrower than my card front to let the white on my card bring out the light colors of the paper. And I also inked the edges of this pattern paper, and I inked with 2 ink pads. I used the Hunky Dory Greige and Powder Blue. And I'm going to show you this because sometimes you think when you're inking the edges of your paper that you can only use one ink color. And that's not true. You can combine them. So let's start with the Powder Blue. And I'm going to ink this pretty heavily so that you can see it really well. Now, when I first did just the powder blue, I thought, oh, that's a bit much. I wanted to tone it down a little. So this is where the grayish comes in. And this will give it a little bit of a verdigris effect. So it adds some warmth to that powder blue. And then I've got my shadow edge on here. And so this is what I did for the two long sides of my pattern paper. Then for my card inside, I have some more rub-ons. I've got this beautiful butterfly, and then I have this swirl. So these are two separate elements, and I've just sort of put them together, and then I added this little chipboard flower piece on here, and then also a dazzle going across the inside. Here you can see how today's color palette can easily become darker and richer just by adding in some different colors of cardstock. And here I've got a dark chocolate brown as my background. And this is coming from the Wood and Woodland cardstock pack, which is what I'm using throughout today's webisode. So first I've trimmed down this gorgeous tapestry paper, slightly smaller than my card front. And I wanted to add in another color of cardstock in here, so I chose this kind of chocolate brown. Because this pattern paper has so many colors in it, I really could have used any number of cardstock colors. So let me show you. Here I've got a beautiful burgundy, which just looks gorgeous and really picks up lots of the burgundy in the background area. This could have been a contender. Then I've also got a pine green that looks beautiful as well, really rich dark colors and picking up some of the shadow colors in here as well. Then there's the teal, which just brightens everything up and of course coordinates beautifully with the teal in the background paper. And then there's a gorgeous green that also looks really nice. So I had a lot of choices. I had a lot of paper spread out in my craft room as I was picking and choosing. And of course you can combine lots of these designs as well. Maybe like this light green with the darker green, that also looks beautiful. So a lot of different options that you could choose. But I went with the chocolate brown. I thought that just looked really nice. And I like having the brown in the background to sort of ground the design, and then letting the lighter colors with this teal and then this green kind of set the stage for the chipboard flowers. Now also this lighter color of teal shows off the rub-ons that I have here, here, and here. And those rub-ons are from the Elements set. Now because the pattern paper is double-sided, it means that I can fold or roll over a corner as I've done here to show the other side of the pattern paper and then also create space for a corner embellishment. The ovals here are die cut with the 10 oval and scalloped cutting dies from hot off the press. Of course, these are the ones that I never put away, and I really like using them for spotlight area. I also really love these cool flower embellishments. So let me show you these. There's the sunflower that I'm using, and then the rose. And then I've also got this chipboard heart-shaped lock here too. All of these are overlapping and kind of interconnected, so they're almost like one unit. And with the lock, what I've done is just slip this around on here. And then when I'm layering this up, I've kind of figured out where I wanted things to go and then glued these elements together as one piece and then added some foam tape in here so that I don't have things sort of bumping and bumbling together, so that everything is laid smooth and even. Then I have a little butterfly chipboard piece which is kind of flying off and breaking up this line of the oval so that I've got a little bit of movement on here. Then I've got my sentiment down at the bottom and of course some of the gemstone accents in here as well. Then for my card inside, I have a rub-on from the Trains set. And I have to say, I really love using these collage style rub-ons as a background element to a dazzle sentiment. I think they just go together really nicely. And then I've added some chipboard wings and another chipboard lock to finish it off. For this design, I've created a cutaway card. So I've simply trimmed off about 2 inches from the front panel of my card. I covered the remainder of the front panel with brown cardstock and then applied some more of the rub-ons from the Greeks set. So again, I'm going to bring in our first card from today, and you can see how those same types of swirls will look different, totally different, when you're putting them onto a light patterned paper as opposed to a dark solid cardstock. So I just love the versatility of these designs and how many different effects you can get. So then the inside of my card is covered with this coordinating patterned paper, and I've added again some more of that brown cardstock here with some more of the swirl rub-ons here too. My focal is a rub-on from the Flowers set, which I applied onto vellum and then layered onto tan cardstock. So let me show you this. I'm going to bring in my piece of vellum and also a piece of cardstock just so that you can see this really well. Then I've also got my rub-on here, this beautiful floral design. And the same process will apply whether you're doing a rub-on onto pattern paper, cardstock, or vellum. With vellum, you may want to be a little bit extra careful, especially if you're using a bone folder with a tip on there. Because vellum can kind of scratch and scar, you do want to make sure that you're applying that firm, even pressure, but not sort of jabbing into that vellum. If you've ever crumpled or creased vellum, you know that you get a white line in there, and that may be a look that you want, but it may also be a look that you don't want. So just better to exercise some caution when applying that rub-on. Okay, again, same process as before. I'm just going to gently pull this up, and hopefully I've transferred everything on here. It's a fairly large design and pretty intricate as well. Okay, I think I've done it. And now you can see how beautiful that looks, but also that translucency in there just adds another different look. So even if I'm bringing in some pattern paper, you could apply this on top. You could do some extra layering on there too. And so that's what I've added to the front of my card. And this is trimmed down into a rectangle and then adding some of the scalloped dies in here as well. And then for the inside, I've got kind of a mirror image. So the same die cut rectangles, also some vellum layered onto pattern paper with another one of the rub-ons. And I've got some flower rub-ons here too, as well as the chipboard. Then the Adventure chipboard piece is mounted onto 2 labels. Now these are from the 8 labels for your greetings die set, one that I really love. And I think that this just spotlights everything really nicely. So this is our cutaway card. I've also added some keys here with a little bit of jute twine. Now I have one more card project that I want to share with you, and this one is using another cutting die. Our final card is a sidestep design using the sidestep card cutting die to create the base. And that's going to give you this really fun dimensional card base that is so easy to decorate. Now, it's also easy to make. Here is the die that I'm working with. As you can see, it's one big metal piece. Hot Off the Press is always going to give you some inspiration and also all of the diagrams and the folding instructions so that you know how to put this together. Super simple to do. So once you've die cut your piece, you'll have the cut area in here. You'll also have all of these score lines, which makes it really easy to follow the mountain valley folds on the diagram to fold up like so. And what I always recommend is that you use that same bone folder that you used to apply your rub-ons, just to give a little extra crispness to some of those fold lines in there. And then you can decorate from there. Now, this is what I've done with the card that I've created. I've got some pattern papers going along the bottom as well as the side here. I've trimmed those down just slightly smaller than the card so that I'm able to get some of that beautiful teal around the edges. I've inked everything with grayish and powder blue. And then I added the chipboard elements, that butterfly that I love so much. Then I've also got some flowers, I've got the gears, and I've got a butterfly here. I've got a little architectural piece in the center section, and then one of the flowers rub-ons here on the back. I've got a Hello Dazzle, which is on top of a label, and this label is cut from the 8 Labels die set. You'll notice these little swirls in here, and these are kind of filler pieces on the script Dazzle sheets, and they make a fun accent piece. Then for my card inside, I've got this half circle rub-on. I've also got some more patterned paper and then another Dazzle sentiment. And this is our final card project of the day today. So a big thank you to our friends at Stamperia for these beautiful papers and embellishments that were so much fun to work with. And a special thanks to you for joining me today. We're really so glad that you're here, and we're happy you're a part of our Paper Wishes family. Do feel free to leave a comment. We love to hear what you think. Each item can be purchased separately, and you can see them below. However, we've also bundled them into a creative money saver just for you. For the money saver, just see this webisode on paperwishes.com. And if you're watching us on YouTube, have a look in the description box below this video. You'll find a link that will take you to our Paper Wishes webisodes page, and you can see everything I just mentioned. If you enjoyed our video today, we'd really appreciate a thumbs up. It helps people to find our channel. And don't forget to subscribe. We create 3 to 5 videos each week, so there's always something fun to inspire your creative spirit.